This is Mr. Elmhorst with a 6th grade math lesson. This is lesson 4, where we're going to learn the rules for combining integers, and we're going to use the card game of war. So it's a little bit different for the first part. So when we add integers or we combine them, when we have the same sign of integers, we're going to add the numbers, for example 3 and 5, and then keep the sign. So these are positives. We're going to treat the black suit as positives and the red suits as negatives, so the hearts. So we have 3 positives, 5 positives, 5 negatives, and 3 negatives. So we're going to start learning how to combine integers when we have positives and negatives together. So the first thing, we're going to represent these using integer chips. Well, we have 3 positives here. So the integer chips, just going to put a plus sign and then a circle. And then we have 5 positives. Okay, so it's just our chip model. And the expression that we would write for this is that we have 3 positives. I'm going to put it in parentheses, just saying that is a separate number. And then we're going to combine it with 5 positives. So the rule is we're going to look at the signs here. If we have the same sign, if we have a positive and positive, then we're going to add the numbers. Okay, so the same signs, we're going to add 3 plus 5 and then keep the sign. So we're going to add the numbers and keep the sign. So 3 plus 5 is going to give us 8, and they're all positives. So if we combine 3 integers plus, or 3 positives plus 5 positives, it would just give us 8. Now, and the negatives are going to be no different when we have the same sign. So if we have 5 negatives, so it's going to represent our chips here. We have 5 negatives, or negative 5, and then we have 3 negatives. So we're going to write the expression over here. So we have negative 5, and we have negative 3. And I'm going to put this in the middle as a separate symbol. So this just means we're combining. So the integer sign goes with the number, the integer sign goes with the number, and then in the middle, that's our operation. It means we're adding these, we're putting these two together. So we go back to the rule. So the integer, if we have the same sign, we're going to add the numbers. So we look at the signs here, negative and negative. Well, that means we're going to add the numbers and keep the sign. So the numbers are 5 and 3, so 5 plus 3 is 8, and then they're negatives, so our answer would be negative 8 all together. Okay, so here's where the game of war comes in. We're going to go to the second part here. Now, if we have different colors for the suits, well then the card with the higher number is going to win between those two as far as what sign you're going to use. So now if integers with different signs, if we have different signs, then we're going to subtract the numbers, but we're going to keep the sign of which one that we have more of. So let's look at the first example. Here we have negative 3. And we have positive 5. And the expression is going to be over here to the right. So we have negative 3. And we have positive 5. And we are combining them. So we're just going to put an addition sign in the middle where we're combining them. Okay, so now we need to know something here. When we have these opposite numbers here, If we have a plus 1 minus 1, plus 1 minus 1, plus 1 minus 1, well, that plus and minus, they're doing something that's called canceling. So a positive and a negative, when we pair them up, they're going to cancel each other out. They're going to delete each other. So you have $1, you spend $1. Well, a positive and negative together is going to give us 0. So, and then when we put them together, we're going to call them a 0 pair. So a positive and negative together is going to make 0. So you go up 1 on the number line, and then you go down 1 on the number line. You're going to end back up at 0. So how do we do this with the chips? Well, we pair them up. There's a positive and negative. Those are going to cancel each other. Here's a positive and negative, cancel. Here's a positive and negative and cancel. So now the game of integer war, we look at which one we have of. 5 is more than 3. So we have more of these positives here. So this card would win. And if we pair them up in chips, we have the same idea. So we have 2 extra positives. So when we play this game, then 5 would win because there's 2 extra on this card than on the other card. So what's the rule? So when you look at the different signs, if these are different, you got a negative and positive, then we're going to subtract the numbers, and we're going to keep the sign of the greater number. Keep the greater sign. Because we have more 5s, then our answer would be positive, or we have more positives. So 5 minus 3 is 2. We have 2 more positives. So if we we draw these 2 cards and we compare them, well, 5 would win by 2 extra points, positive points. So let's look at the other example. What if we had more negatives? Negative 1. There's 5 negatives. And let's just put this over here at negative 5. And then we have 3 positives. Positive 3. Okay, so now we're going to combine them. And as soon as we see our integer chips, we can model it out. Plus, minus. So there's 1 pair. You will circle them and then cancel them out when you do the models. Circle the pairs and then cancel them only when they're opposites. Now, notice up above, we did not circle anything up here because negatives and negatives, they're not opposites. They don't cancel each other. And positives do not cancel. So don't circle the same pairs. So if we have the same sign, you're going to keep all the numbers and then keep the sign. But when you have different signs, you're going to subtract the numbers and then keep the sign of which one you have more of. So now we look at the signs, a negative and a positive. These are opposites, so we subtract the numbers and then we keep the greater number sign. The greater sign. And because 5 minus 3 is 2 and we have more negatives, so our answer would be negative 2.